Hi, I'm Mobiius, and this is Oscillator One. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. This is a new podcast that I'm putting together where I'm trying to talk to different artists in the scene that inspire me and get insight on their creative process and their journeys. This week's guest is none other than Social Kid. He's an OG of the midtempo genre. Many of you are probably already aware of him. He's been in the music game under different aliases for a few decades now, which we chat about today. In our chat, he shared a ton of insights into his history, what brought him to the point he's at today, what it takes to succeed as a new artist, and how to manage priorities in your life in order to stay happy and fulfilled. This episode is full to the brim with electronic music and production, history, and nostalgia. There's lots of advice for upcoming producers, there's some interesting stories, and heaps of insights that he drops from his years and years in the game. So please relax and enjoy.
Oscillator One.
Social Kid, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So I was wondering, before we get into it, how would you describe what you make as Social Kid? How would you categorize it?
Okay, so if that's a good question. I would say like what I make is cyberpunk mid-tempo, but I say that as someone that didn't really understand what cyberpunk music was, because the way I discovered mid-tempo, and this was like before Rezz and even Gustafsson was like making it popular. I was in my apartment, like I used to live in Berkeley, California. And I was just in my apartment DJing because my roommate at the time had decks. I actually have a project with my roommate called K Theory that was like this trap and bass project. And we're doing some stuff on the side. But we were like experimenting with like dubstep at the time. This is before Social Kid was even a thing because I was doing K Theory music with my partner. And I really liked progressive house. But not like the kind of progressive house you have nowadays. This was like 2010 or like 2011-ish.
Okay.
With like more like dark progressive house. Like I don't know if you guys know who. Oh man, I like forget the names. They're like so underground. Like they didn't even want to be discovered. It was like that type of progressive house. It was like really dark and heavy.
Okay.
And I was DJing. I was about a 130 BPM, and my K Theory partner Dylan, he comes up to me. He was like, what if you slow this down? And he just goes up to my decks and just pitches it down. And it goes to like 109 or like however slow you can get it. And it brings the key down to like E flat, which is like a really deep key. And it just is like boom, boom, boom. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And like at that time, I've never heard anything like that. Like slow, dark, progressive house at 109 was absolutely crazy. And he was telling me, you should like make a track like this. And that was kind of like the start of Social Kid, essentially. And so I just called it mid-tempo at that point, because I mean, at that point, like when you said mid-tempo, people thought you were talking about glitch hop.
Yeah.
So I would say that like, yeah, I make mid-tempo, but once I started realizing that like this, like as Social Kid's sound kind of evolved into like incorporating like electro, because I really liked complextro. That was really big back in like 2011.
Yeah.
Like Wolfgang Gardner, early Porter Robinson, and incorporating those elements but making them darker. I don't know what it was. I think it was like listening to like watching The Matrix, or there were some video games that like had like slower sounding like electro and like synthwave. And then all of a sudden it just clicked like, whoa, this is cyberpunk music.
Mm-hmm.
Or industrial, like cyberpunk and industrial, which are kind of adjacent. And I was like making industrial and like cyberpunk, not knowing that that's what it was for the longest time, because I was going to like some goth clubs in San Francisco and with some other people. And I heard the music and I was like, whoa, I'm making cyberpunk. Who would have guessed, like thought that that's what it was? But it made sense because I really liked The Matrix. I liked cyberpunk as like, you know, like a medium genre, but never realized that like, yeah, there's like a music genre of it too. So I feel like that's kind of the sound of Social Kid, is like cyberpunk. And it kind of fits with the branding was like originally like some anarchist hacker type of thing, because that's what the logo is with like the mask and the chat bubble.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really comes across that way, but that's like was the idea, and it kind of like fit with the cyberpunk universe. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. It kind of fits. But yeah, to make it like a long story short, I would say that it's like electro industrial, but like cyberpunk probably is like encompassing the style of Social Kid.
Yeah, because you have different songs that kind of like branch into different sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So that yeah, you're mentioning like the old school like complextro and electro, and that's the kind of stuff you were making with K Theory, right? Are you still a part of K Theory?
Yeah, I still do stuff with K Theory. I'm like the main producer. I've let like Dylan kind of take like the lead as like the CEO, while I focus on Social Kid, but I still do like the majority of the production. He will do like the songwriting and a lot of the more administration stuff, and will like bring ideas to me and have me flesh them out. So I still do that, and we're actually kind of like working on like a comeback, because Kathy was kind of in hibernation for a couple of years, and I might play some shows with him too if we get bookings for like big festivals. I mean, K-Theory used to get booked at like Electric Forest and like I think EDC and Coachella.
Damn.
And yeah, it's really cool. So I may like, because those are such fun festivals, if it's right and makes sense, may like DJ with him, because I have a lot of fun DJing with him. But like I don't know, I've kind of been focusing on Social Kid because it's really fun, and I've started pursuing getting gigs, and it's Social Kid's been getting gigs. So I don't know if it aligns, I'll probably do some more stuff with K Theory. It's just like a lot of stuff, like producing like full time for 2 projects is kind of tricky.
Yeah, it's a big workload.
And I really like doing K Theory because it's such a different style. It's more trappy. It's a little bit more poppy, more like thuggish and like future bass, dubstep. And Social Kid's more like dark and gothic. And I don't know. They're both fun. I like making music.
Of course, yeah. So like, was K Theory your first producer project?
Actually, no. My first producer project was this project called Frostraven. Now that's old school. I was doing Frostraven. I started that in like 2003, right when I graduated high school.
Okay. And what kind of style was that?
That was psychedelic trance or psytrance. Because when in high school, I started listening to trance, and then I just discovered hard trance, which was because like so you got to understand, in 2001, the music technology was so difficult. Nowadays, basically everyone and their mother, like if you just get an account for Splice and Ableton, you can make some banging music. And like that's just kind of expected. But back then, like banging music was its own genre, because like to make like banging music, there was no Splice. So like you had like people like will get off on like this sound design is so sick. But back in the day, it's like, wow, that kick drum like hits hard.
Yeah.
Like that was like really impressive, having like a kick that like hit hard, because you couldn't just go to Splice and download a sick kick. You had to like craft it really well and do a bunch of stuff to get your kick sounding cool. And so I started listening to like basic trance, which was just kind of like fluffy and fruity. And then I got into hard trance because it was just the production was so good. And then hard trance eventually turned into hard style. And now hard style sounds completely different than old school hard style. It's like a whole different thing. And then as that shift happened, because I was really attached to like hard trance and like early hard style, a friend of mine showed me Infected Mushroom, and I heard and I was like, whoa, what is this? This is like organic sounding hard trance, but it's like with sounds that aren't super compressed, but it still sounds hard. And I was like, what is this? And they're like, oh, it's psytrance. This is like the kind of trance hippies listen to. And I got really into that because it was crazy sound design. Infected Mushroom really inspired me. This other group called Juno Reactor, which kind of had a lot of cyberpunk and industrial themes to it, but I didn't know it at the time. Juno Reactors, they may not be like known, but they did tracks for The Matrix, and I know most people know The Matrix because that's a huge movie franchise.
Of course.
So my project Frostraven, I was doing Psytrance, and I think it's on Spotify. I kind of like signed some pretty aggressive label deals at back in the day, so I don't know if I own the music for Frostraven, just because I was like really young and didn't really know any better. And no shade to the label guys, like they were just trying to make money, and I have no like I like agree to everything, but like if I probably wouldn't make those agreements now, knowing what I know. But I was doing Psytrance and I like produced like a bunch of albums. I think Frostraven has like 7 albums.
Oh my God.
Probably, I think only like 5,000 monthly listeners though on Spotify.
Okay.
Which is still like, that's kind of a lot, but it's like not like, it's not a lot.
Yeah, I feel you. So then moving from Frostraven, you started K-Theory with your roommate. Are you from California or did you move there for school?
I'm originally from California. So what happened is I was doing Psytrance and I was going to Psytrance parties consistently because there was a lot of like Psytrance parties in San Francisco. And then I started attending this school in San Francisco called Pyramind. And Pyramind was great because it really like taught me like mixing fundamentals and some pretty cool stuff because I didn't know anything about sound design. I was just all self-taught using this is before Ableton. So I was on this, and I still use this DAW today. I mean, I produce an Ableton now because, you know, why not? It's pretty cool. But I was using this old school DAW called Reason. Reason's still around, but like I think it's mostly used by hip hop producers, even though I think FL Studio is like the most popular for hip hop producers. But like back in the day, FL Studio wasn't really good. Reason was like the favorite of hip hop producers, and a hip hop producer showed me how to use Reason because I got it from him. And so I was doing this all in California and like working on Psytrance. And then while I was in that school, Pyramind, one of the producers, DJs there, I went to one of his shows. They were doing breaks and break beats. He said, I want to show you this genre that I just discovered called dubstep. It's really crazy. This was, I think, 2005.
Okay.
So it was like really early. And I heard, I was like, whoa, this is like heavy hip hop. Because that was the closest thing I could think of to describe it. And it was so crazy to me. I was like, wow, this is really cool. I kind of want to start making this kind of stuff. Then like around 2010, Skrillex came around and dubstep was starting to change into more of an aggressive sound. Because when I started getting the dubstep, it was more like the dubstep back then, if you were to hear it, you'd probably call it like down tempo, or I don't even know if it'd be recognized as dubstep. It was more reggae influenced.
Yeah, it's like old like UK records like Scream and things like this, yeah?
Yeah, very bass heavy. And I started experimenting with like heavy stuff because I was friends with these producers called Pants Party, who later rebranded to be called the M Machine, which I think is like they're probably way more well known as the M Machine than Pants Party. I don't even know if anyone knows who Pants Party was, but they were killing it as Pants Party in San Francisco. And they were like, yo, dude, you should do some dubstep with Frostrate and that would be sick. And I was like, really, guys? Like, okay, I should try that. And so then I started making more like techie, psychedelic dubstep. And the shows and parties I was going to, like my label manager was throwing, he was started putting on dubstep DJs. It's like, I'm going to book you, but I want you to play dubstep. I know people know you as Psytrance, but you should play some dubstep. And so I started DJing a lot of dubstep. And there was this party back in the day in San Francisco called EPR, which standed for Electro Pop Rocks. And Dylan, who is my K-Theory partner, he was the booker for like the side room of doing dubstep. And I found out his name on Facebook somehow. And I hit him up. I was like, yo, I want to play your dubstep room. I know I usually do Psytrance, but I got a whole dubstep mixtape to show you. And he was like, okay, let me hear some of your stuff. And I showed him my stuff. He was like, okay, I'm down to book you. This is pretty good. What DAW you're using? And I said, Reason. And he was like, oh shit, I use Reason too, which was like a big deal because most people back then were using like Cubase, and like I think Ableton was just starting to get popping back then, but like still people weren't really using Reason. So it was kind of a big deal to find another Reason producer. It was like, yo, can you tutor me? I would love to have some lessons. And I'm thinking like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna tutor this guy. The booker of like, maybe we could like trade lessons for a show or something like that. And we met up and I showed him some tricks and he was like, yo, this is really cool, man. I think we should collab. And we like started coming up with ideas. and we just started collabing from there. And we were working at like he was going to community college for music technology, and they had a cool studio. So we would like make our K Theory music there. And that's kind of how K Theory started, 2010, like around October. I think I DJ'd as Frostraven dubstep at one of his Halloween parties he was throwing. And we officially launched K Theory January 2011, and then moved in together in Berkeley to like produce K Theory stuff full time. And I kind of stopped doing Frostraven, was mostly on the side. And then shortly after, because he had decks, I just would DJ for fun when we were just hanging out. And that's like when he was like, you should slow this progressive house down. Because he was more into dubstep and more like, I don't know if mainstream's the right word, but like more like poppy, not even poppy, like alternative, like electro house, like the stuff that was like going on the raves. And I was more into the weirder underground stuff like psytrance and like psychedelic prog and like house, like progressive house, like dark progressive house. And so he never really heard it. And he was like, it sounds really fast. You should slow it down. And that's like kind of when we discovered midtempo back then.
Yeah, that was the light bulb.
Yeah, no one was doing it. And then shortly after, like he was like, oh, I know who we should like try to collab with. And then he showed me Gesaffelstein, because that was the only other producer that was doing stuff kind of like that. So like the timeline goes like Frostraven, then K Theory, and then Social Kid. And like Dylan like kind of helped me create Social Kid because he like helped with the branding, and we were going to do it together. But eventually like we like made an agreement that like I was just going to do Social Kid because I had all these ideas, and this was around 2014, because I wanted to do Social Kid like full time. And he had like this other band he was doing, like he was like starting like almost like a rock band, and that's kind of when K Theory took like a break to do our own thing. So I was like, I'm going to do Social Kid, he's going to do like this rock band thing, and we kind of went our separate ways for like a few years. And that's kind of like the timeline, if that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. I got it. So like, I'm feeling super nostalgic thinking back to like 2011, 2010. When you were launching K Theory, I went back through your discography and I saw that you had a few like This Song Is Sick, I guess, official releases. They weren't really a label. It was just a blog. But just from my own curiosity, how did you get in contact with This Song Is Sick and release exclusives with them? And do you think that helped K Theory to gain traction?
I definitely think so. We just had, because it was so early and like blogs were like really killing it, it was just way easier to make connections with these, like they're like huge. And like, I don't even know how I would approach This Song Is Sick if I was just starting out now. You probably have to like pay them or something like that.
Yeah.
But like back then, like you were just the homies, like you would just like meet up with them in LA. We would like go on trips to LA and just meet these people and hang out. And we would show them music and like, oh yeah, we should feature this. And it was just kind of, I don't know if you say what's easy, you still have to like network and like have like pretty decent social skills, which is something Dylan was really good at. I kind of more struggled with it because I'm kind of on the spectrum. So I had to really like push myself to be like networking. That's something he really excelled at because he would just social butterfly, really good at like talking to people. And if you were good at like, you know, talking, being friendly and respectful and showing people music, that just puts you in like a league like above other people, because most people don't even do that. And it was way easier back then because a lot of these like outlets, they weren't super big, that they were like unapproachable. We like personally knew like the guy that did Trap Nation, because he like lived in San Francisco. We would just like hang out with him and like get sushi together, just because I don't know, it was just easy because like we were in close proximity and they weren't so big that they were just like unapproachable.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know if that's luck. That might be luck, just like being at the right time, like being in the right era at the right time. Like I remember Trap Nation when they had like only like 10,000 subscribers. They have like 40 million now.
So like about this making connections and networking, I think a lot of people, smaller producers especially, kind of struggle with this. And whether that's making connections online over social media or making connections in person at shows, do you have any advice for these people about how they should approach it and maybe what they should prioritize online versus in real life and how those differ?
I do have some advice. There's like basically to be successful, there's like three main things that need to be strong. And that is the music. You have to have, your music has to be at least good enough where it like can compete with what's being DJ'd out at major festivals. You have to have good branding, and that's just important So it makes it easier for people to listen to your music to like correlate who you are. And then networking, like a strong network. That's kind of where like kind of what you asked, that needs to be strong. So if you have like solid music and like a decent brand, doesn't have to be like super like crazy, but just something consistent, just something there so people can easily identify like your music with your brand. And then once you have those things, it makes networking easier because say like, oh, check out my Instagram, and like there's like a theme and like the links to your music are like readily available. It just makes it so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
As for networking, like how to network, if you live in a city, there's like two types of networking. Like the people that like have access to going to shows and going to parties, because some people may live in the middle of nowhere. For the people that like have access to shows, say you live in like San Francisco or Denver, or like a place where there's like a scene, you need to go to parties and get to know like the promoters and get to know the like staff, like introduce yourself to people. And like, cause most people don't even do that. They don't even like introduce themselves to the security guards or ask them their names or like say thank you. Like the bar is so low set that just like being nice and pleasant and like I was at a show like a couple of days ago, opening for Nero. And when I went to go talk to the VJ, because I wanted to get my visual set up, like the security guard like stopped me because that's their job. And I was like, oh, I'm DJ and I just want to talk to the VJ. And I introduced myself, what's my name, and said like, what's your name? And he told me his name and I was like, thank you so much. Shook his hand and was like, just really cordial. Didn't freak out that they're stopping me because of course they're going to do that. Their security, that's their job, to make sure that like, he doesn't know who I am. He's just doing his job. And some people may be like, I'm DJing here. What do you think you're doing? Or you know what I mean? Like just being nice to the whole staff goes a long way. And I would recommend like people to go to as many shows as you can, especially ones that kind of make sense with your style. Like if you're a house DJ, go to the house shows, get to know those people. And then you could, if you learn who the promoter is, you could like ask to be on shows. Another thing, if you have like, how should I say this? Looking for artists that are like on tour that are kind of similar to yourself. Let's say, for example, if I was to do this, like someone like Zavo is similar to me, and I think he's on tour. I go see like, okay, what cities is Zavo going on a tour? Is he going on a city like in Salt Lake City where I am? Oh, but there he is. He's playing at this in Salt Lake City. What is the venue? Who is the promoters? Find the promoters, like, oh, here's her Instagram. Maybe send them an Instagram message. Be like, hey, if you guys, I see Zavo's playing at, this party. Do you guys have openers for this? I'd love to open for you guys. I feel like I'd be a good fit because he's a mid-tempo DJ. I do mid-tempo, like anything you can to try to like get yourself in there. And sometimes they say, oh, we already have openers. Thank you though, but we hope to see you at the show. Then you can be like, okay, I'll be there to support. Stuff like that. That's like an online version. And then you go there like to support. Now, say you live in a city or a town that has no shows or anything. You're not in like an area like that. What I would suggest is try to move to like a big city. If you can't, because moving's expensive, then you have to just like kill it online and just, maybe make connections via just finding like the parties that you would want to go to that do have that and just hyping them up, like maybe liking their posts, engaging with their social media on Instagram, like saying stuff because they love that stuff because it makes their party look better, like trying to add value any way you can. Because eventually, like maybe like when you get more clout and you can get flown out there, they might remember you and be like, oh yeah, you were like commenting on this for like so long. Yeah, we'd love to fly you out. We can only like offer you $600 or something like that, but like we'd love that, like fly you out. And then you would just like get in your friends and like road trip there and like, I don't know, sleep in your car or just spend your money on a hotel. But $600 is not that much to like travel to like an out of state area or whatever. I don't even know if they would pay that much. Sometimes they don't pay at all. You got to like see like, okay, is it worth it for me and my homies to drive there for a show that's not getting paid? I know that's a big issue. Like people say like, don't do shows if you're not getting paid. And I totally respect that because by like making that stance, you're like keeping the DJ economy like strong And by playing shows for free, you kind of fuck up the economy. But sometimes there's like a value in playing a show for free if like it makes sense. So there's like a lot of factors in networking, and you gotta understand like where you're at, because it's different for each person. Like if you don't have a lot of money and you live like in a city that's like in nowhere, then your strategy is going to look a little different than if like you live in a city. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you said, like just getting your foot in the door sometimes, like sending the DMs, like commenting on the posts, showing up over and over, like getting your foot in the door, and then like consistency.
Yeah.
Making them know you, like establishing some kind of relationship and supporting them.
Yeah, supporting them, offering like value.
Exactly.
Because they love that stuff. They make posts because they want people to engage. They're looking for engagement. You can be that engagement.
Yeah, exactly. So somebody wanted me to ask you, with your creative process, we're going to change gears a little bit here. Would you say you have like a very set schedule? You're like, I make music from this time to this time every day, or is it variable? Do you go based on like when you're feeling inspired? Do you have big bursts where you're just like plowing through a bunch of music, and then you have kind of low periods where you're coasting off what you made? How do you approach it?
So it's kind of changed as my life and has like changed. When I was doing K Theory, I was like doing music full time because like K Theory was like supporting me. I was fortunate enough where I was making enough money with K Theory to just pay for my lifestyle. And I was doing like 40 hours a week of like music production. I would get up around like, I kind of get up at like around like 9 or 10, because I was like in my early 20s back then. So I would just like sleep in a lot and smoking a lot of weed and just being a 20-year-old, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I would get up what I thought was early, like at 10:30, and then start producing at 11 to like 7. And I would take like a lunch break, and I just treat it like a job, essentially. Like it was my job. And I was able to do that because I was just able to do that. I had like another partner like helping me. So it made things a little easier. And, it was still kind of tricky because like producing 8 hours a day is sometimes tricky. And like what that meant was if I wasn't feeling like making a song, like if I didn't have any ideas, then I'd just be organizing samples or like working on patches for like, well, I didn't use Serum back then, but just like other like synthesizers. Or if I didn't get inspired by that, I was just organizing my computer, like, cleaning, like just doing something that like was adjacent to studio work. Nowadays, I'm a little bit more busy. My priorities have kind of shifted. I wouldn't say I'm doing Social Kid full time because there's like new projects I'm trying to work on. I've been studying C# and programming, and I really want to get into like game development, which is like kind of totally different than music production. But I just really want to make video games and like put my own music into video games, because I only know of one producer that is also a game developer. I forget the name of it. I think it's like, I forget the name, but I like see him on Twitter. He's making this really cool cyberpunk first-person shooter that looks sick, using Unity. And Unity is like kind of like in the game development world, like their version of DAWs are called game engines. And Unity is probably the most popular. The most well-known for like normies is probably Unreal, because like the big AAAs use Unreal. But Unity is a little bit easier on your computer. Like for Unreal, you need like a beast of a computer, and Unity is a little bit cheaper. So I've been studying that, and I also have like a wife and a kid. I've been doing that kind of stuff. So when it comes to Social Kid music now, I kind of just work on it whenever I get a chance. Sometimes I'll stay up late and sacrifice sleep, and sometimes it kind of bites me in the ass, because like when I wake up and I need to be on it like a dad, I'll be sleepy and will be a less effective dad, which is not cool, because my absolute top priority is being like a good family, like it's my family. So sometimes it's hard to justify like working on this music, but I like will carve out times as much as I can and use like really lean in on my experience. I've been producing for like maybe 20 years now. So I know how to do things really efficiently, really fast. And I don't make everything from scratch like I used to. Like what I used to do is I would like make everything from scratch just because I thought that was really cool and impressive. But like now I like lean into Splice a lot. I'll just like I used to like make my own kick samples and my own snare samples and just would like make like all these glitch effects and whatnot, which is really fun and really cool. And like it makes your track sound really unique and like stand out way more. But that takes a lot of time. So like a lot of my newer tracks, like I'll like make my bass patches from scratch because I feel like that's the most like signature of like tracks is like the bass design. Like that's kind of like it's I guess you can say midtempo is not like bass music, but it's kind of but like it could be bass music. And like the sound design is really important. So I'll focus in on like, writing my own melodies, like my own patterns, note patterns, and my own basses. But when it comes to like swooshes and effects and like kick samples, I'll lean in and splice a lot, just because it makes it faster. And I like know what I want. I have like formulas of like how to get certain places. So when I am in the studio for like, I may only have like 3 hours, like a week sometimes, which is not that long. I'll like know exactly what I want and what to do. And that's just because I have priorities that supersede K theory, social kid now. If I were like, say like I was 27 years old or 25, I didn't have a girlfriend or a wife or a kid, and my only responsibility was say like my day job that I would work at 40 hours a week, probably what I would do is let's just pretend like I'm single, I'm living in my own apartment by myself, and I have like a 40-hour a week job that I work at 9 to 5 doing something. I would get up around 7 or 8, probably like go to the gym for like 30 minutes and then like take a shower, go to work. And then when I come home, I would like, make some food and then just like grind in the studio till like midnight. So say I get off of work at 5, I get home around 5:30, then I eat dinner and it's around 6. And then around 7, I get in the studio and then work in the studio till like midnight. And then like maybe watch a TV show, like one episode of a TV show till like 12:30 or 1, go to bed. And I would like stay on that for as like consistently as possible. I probably wouldn't hang out with any friends or go to any parties and just maintain that for as long as I can. And then maybe Saturday and Sunday, I would like spend with either family or if like a homie was in town, I'd get lunch with them. But I wouldn't do like when I was a teenager, I would like go spend like hours at a friend's house, like playing Dungeon. I was more of a nerd. I didn't like start smoking weed till I was older. I know that's like a thing, like play video games for like hours and like just like chill out. I wouldn't do that just because I would just do the music. That would be like the way I would do it. It's like do your day job, come home, eat dinner, do your music till like late at night, then chill out with like a book or a TV. And then on Saturday and Sunday, like save those for free time because you got to have balance. Doing like a music like every day, 5 days a week would be enough. And then balance it with Saturday hanging out with a homie and maybe Sunday hanging out with family. Maybe Saturday being like just relaxed day. Maybe sometimes I would just take a day off and just watch anime or something, go to a movie. And then Sunday, like, I don't know, call my mom or something like that.
Yeah. Something to keep you from help to stave off the burnout, something to like release the pressure a little bit.
That's what I would probably do if I was trying to have do the producer like grind.
Yeah.
I don't really do that now. Like I kind of have a schedule. I have like a part-time job right now. I'm also like in school studying C# and Unity. Like I said, and I kind of break my days up by doing that. Like in the morning, I get up really early at 6 a.m. and like go to the gym, work out for a bit, then take my son to school. And then when I get back, it's like around 8:30, I'll like work on like coding and Unity till like around 1, and then like take like a lunch break, hang out with like my wife, go pick up my son, and then just kind of hang out through dinner, and then like around 10:30 or 11, go into the studio and work on music, and then sometimes till like 3 a.m., only getting 3 hours of sleep, which is not good for your health.
No.
But I mean, there's only so many, like you got to make it's not for everyone, honestly.
Yeah, you got to make time somewhere. And I mean, being a dad and being in school and having a job is like, it's a big workload.
Hold on 1 second.
No worries.
What was I saying?
We were talking about like how to fit your music into schedules.
So you got to be disciplined, and I'm not I'm not disciplined as much as I should be. Like what I'm gonna do is like write out a schedule, because I think like writing it out really helps you understand like how to attack like the goals you want. Like I have these like I want to make a video game. That's a lot of work, and I don't even have the skill set. It's like saying if I want to like produce an album without really knowing how to use like Ableton. So what would that look like? I want to produce an album. I don't know how to use Ableton. How do I do that? Well, I gotta first learn how to use Ableton. So I need to like either hire like a tutor or something like that, like make time for that, and then
Yeah, kind of like you got to like break it up into like each component and then attack them one at a time.
So that's essentially what I'm doing. I'm learning like how to program in C#. I'm learning Unity, which is like the software, the DAW for game designers. The programming language is like learning music theory. Essentially, if we're doing like a producer, like analogy to game design. And so I'm learning that on top of like, I still want to do music, a social kid, because I want to put out like a track like once a month, because that's really good for the Spotify algorithm.
Definitely.
And luckily I have like a bunch of like tracks just like saved and stacked up, but I'm starting to run out. So like at some point I'm going to have to start producing again. I plan on actually like later tonight, like working on some new tracks, because I don't want to run out. I want to be able to like keep going monthly. That's something I would recommend to producers. Like if you can, try to release a track once a month. And if you don't have enough tracks, then just make a bunch of tracks, stack them. And then once you have like enough finished tracks in the bag, start scheduling out as far in advance. So you can like not worry about releasing tracks because they're just already set up, and then start producing and get caught up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I'm trying to do. The schedule's a little haphazard right now. I'm still kind of trying to find my way, just because I'm juggling so much, which is not the most effective. Like if I really wanted, I feel like Social Kid would be like way more successful if I was just focusing on that. And because like that's kind of just how reality works. Like if you focus on something, it's going to get successful much faster. And I love doing Social Kid, but it's kind of more of a hobby than like a career. I'm just really lucky and blessed that it's actually done like pretty damn well for like being like a hobby, honestly. Like I'm really thankful for all the opportunities. I'm sure like, being in K Theory and like, which was like a pretty successful group. And then I would like remix my own tracks as K Theory, and like that would kind of boost Social Kid. And then getting support by like Whipped Cream and Rezz and some other DJs that would like play out my tracks like really helped. So that like has kind of made like this, it's kind of inspired me. Like, I know this is a hobby, but it's like, it's doing so well. I kind of want to put more into it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. So with like Whipped Cream and Rezz and Miha, I think, how did they just stumble across your tracks and somebody like sent you a video? They're like, dude, look, they're playing your tracks. Or did the artist actually hit you up? Did you promo your tracks to them? So I think around 2017, 2018, Whipped Cream, I don't know how big she was. She was like much smaller. Like she's kind of huge right now. I don't know how that happened. Well, of course I know how that happened. She's really, she's like talented and has like put in the work and just grinds. And that's just what happens. Her brand is strong. Her music is strong. Her network is strong. Those three pillars, if you got them, you're going to be successful. Mm-hmm.
So that's how it happened. But she was way smaller, and she would message me from time to time on SoundCloud, like the homies. And she'd be like, hey, do you have any whips you can show me? I'd love to collab. I'd show her some whips. She's like, I don't know if I'm feeling this. Keep sending me stuff. Like she just really wanted to collab with me. I'd be down to collab with her. She's a little bit harder to reach nowadays because she's probably just so busy. But she recently sent me a message like, send me some demos so you have some, but then doesn't really get back to me. Probably not her fault, honestly. Like when you're that big, it's probably hard to get back to people because you're so busy.
Yeah. I
get like messages like constantly from time to time, and I'm nowhere near her size. So like, it must be like
overwhelming.
It must be crazy. So like, no shade to her, but like she would message me and she would show me some of her whips of stuff. I don't even know if she's released some of these tracks that she sent me. And I was like, oh, wow, this is really interesting. And like, she made like the Psytrance Big Room track. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And we would message. I never sent her transmissions, but like, then all of a sudden, like I start getting messages from people like, yo, Whipped Cream's playing at your track transmissions. I'm like, what? And she like played out at like every show. And then I went to go see her when I was living in San Francisco with my wife, who was my fiance at the time. And she played it out. And I was like, oh shit, like she's really rinsing this track out.
Hell yeah.
So I don't know how. I think I released Transmissions just on SoundCloud by myself, but then this other SoundCloud network called The Golden Search reached out to me and said, yo, I want to like put this track on my SoundCloud. Is that okay? Because it's really sick. I was like, sure. And then The Golden Search eventually turned into this label called Synesthesia, who I've released a lot of records with because I don't know, I really like Synesthesia. And they were like in hibernation for a little bit, but then they're kind of back now.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which is cool. So The Golden Search was like a big fan of Transmissions, put that out. And that was like, I think I had like 3,000 followers at the time. So like not that many on SoundCloud. And then they had like, I don't know, some like way over 10,000, like maybe like 40,000. They were like a kind of a bigger SoundCloud label. And that made Transmissions blow up. It had a download link. So maybe she saw it on that because a lot of people probably saw it because it got like hella plays, like way more plays than I did. So maybe she saw it on that. As for Miha, I don't know, maybe the girl DJs are just like homies with each other. And like she picked it up because that's what she was playing too, was Transmissions. That's probably like my biggest track, which is funny because it's like, that's like a track I used before I learned how to use Serum. I was just like sampling hardware synthesizers with like because I was in Reason, and back then Reason couldn't use VSTs. So like to compete with other DAWs, what I would do is I would find like special sample packs that were of hardware synths, like this Virus. And so I would sample like sounds from hardware, play them with MIDI with samplers in my DAW to try to like, you know, stand a chance against like all the Serum bros. And I guess like it worked out because Transmissions is still like my top playing track right now.
Yeah.
And that's like what a lot of DJs were playing. When it came to Rezz, I don't know if Rezz played Transmissions. The one that she's been playing out is my Taste of You remix. And the way that happened, I was following this producer called Makeshift, who's very underground. I think he only has like, I don't even think he has 1,000 followers, which is crazy. It's crazy to me how like some very talented producers will have like no followers. I don't get how that happens. But I think he had a track that was getting played out by Rezz. It was like a remix he did, and it was so sick. I think it's like Relax or something like that. The one that was like Relax.
Yeah, I know the one.
And I hit him up, was like, yo, dude, you are super talented. I bet we can get Rezz to play it. We like had a plan, actually. We like planned out like we're going to have Rezz play out this track we're going to do. And I wanted the remix Taste of You. And I thought Taste of You was perfect because it's a track that she probably wants to play out because it's like a really poppy track with like Dove Cameron, who is like this Disney Channel singer.
Is that where she's from?
I think she's from like the Disney Channel or something like that.
That makes
she's
sense.
she's pretty major, and like it's more poppy. And I'm sure she did it because like I'm guessing Rezz is like more into instrumentals and underground like ravey stuff, but she did that because it still sounds cool, but it's like it will help blow up her profile, and it totally did. Made her like even way bigger than she already was, but it doesn't really have a drop. And so we're thinking like we should like make it something that's really attractive for her to play at shows. And so we decided, okay, let's make this remix. I'll do drop 1, you do drop 2. It'll be like a really fair collaboration.
Yeah.
I think his drop is like way cooler than my drop, but and he says that like the opposite, like thinks that, but like fuck, his drop was so sick. I was like, fuck, man, maybe we should make this the first drop. But maybe it's even cooler. Like the second drop is better. I felt like, damn, like, does my drop even sound as good as his? Whatever. But like, once I got out of my own head and got out of my own way, we like finished the track, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do like my usual, like weird anime video things and post a clip on Instagram and Twitter. And then when I posted that, I think a day afterwards, Rezz like sends me a DM, was like, yo, I really want to play that remix out. Can you send it to me? And I was like, shit, this is exactly what we wanted to happen.
Yeah, it's like exactly according to plan. One day.
Yeah, and this was before like we wanted to release on a Friday. We posted a teaser on Monday, and I think she messaged me on a Tuesday. So then I told Makeshift, he was so stoked. Was like, yes, send that shit to her. And so then I sent her a Dropbox link and she has been playing it out. I don't know if she still plays it out. She didn't play it out at Lost Lands, but she's played it out at a lot of shows. And then I get like a copyright notification. So like the publishers aren't into it. Like whoever she like released it with, like probably a major label. I don't think she has anything to do with that, like the copyright strikes, because she seems more like down to earth and chill and just like wants everyone to like, as long as you're credited, like it's fine.
Yeah.
But publishers and whatnot, they want the money, and they're kind of running the game right now, unfortunately. But now Rezz has her own label, so like now she can be the boss.
Yeah, absolutely. Are you going to try to release something on her label if possible?
I sent her something, but I haven't got a reply back. Usually it's typically like good practice to wait 2 weeks and then send a follow-up email. It may have been 2 weeks. I have to check when I sent her that. I'll probably send her a follow-up email. If I don't hear back from her, I'll just release it on my own.
Okay. How do you go about choosing between releasing a song as a self-release versus trying to go with a label?
If I really like the label, then I may go with that label. And what does that mean to really like the label? So if I feel like they can do something for me that I can't do myself, and a lot of times, like I know how to master now, but back in the day, like mastering was like a big cost for me, because sometimes like if you want a really good master, sometimes you have to pay like $80 for a master. I know there's some people that will only charge like $30, and that's okay. But like I wanted like the top sauce,
Of course,
because I really feel like that like makes a difference. Like you can write a really good track, but if it has like a bad master, you're not going to realize. It's like you make like a cool movie, but then like the movie isn't like 320p. So it's like, yeah, you made a really cool movie, but like I'm going to watch Transformers in 4K rather than your really cool movie. You know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely.
So I would spend a lot. Sorry, what was that?
I was going to say, you want to realize it to like its highest potential. You've put all the work in, you might as well like make sure it's the best it can be.
Yeah. So that was like a big deal. And that's something that labels, that was like a lot of leverage for me. It's like, oh, they would just cover the mastering costs, because a lot of labels will just have in-house mastering engineers. Now that I've practiced and finally I am able to afford like Ozone and some cool tools, and like have gotten to the point now where I can master myself and it actually sounds like competitive. They don't have as much leverage over me, so I don't really need labels as much. So what else can they offer? Promotion. They have like a good promotional budget and a good network of things that I can't do myself. And they have like a cool like brand that I feel like is interesting. I got hit up by this A&R from like Don Diablo, I think it was, to release some tracks.
Is that Hexagon?
Yeah, Hexagon.
Okay.
Which was really random. I would not expect them to reach out to me. And then I was like, they were like, yo, we like your sound. We would love to hear some tracks. And I was thinking like, that's kind of weird. Like, I'll give it a shot. I sent them some tracks and they're like, sorry, we're not interested. And I was like, they were like looking for like house music. And I sent them all this like dark electro and cyberpunk. And I was like, dude, like this is what I do, but whatever. There's this other label that like reached out to me that called Fixed, which is they are, I don't know if you've heard of the producer called Cell Dweller.
I have. Yeah.
He's like an industrial, like actual and like rock and roll industrial. And that's kind of cool, because industrial, even though it's like rock and roll, but he has like an EDM version now. That's kind of adjacent. That's kind of in the similar style. So probably like fans that like that would like me. They reached out. So I would probably work with them because they have a cool network. They even like sent me like this whole like PDF file with like, these are all our tools. This is how we do this, like really selling themselves to me. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that's pretty cool. I'll give it a shot. So I'd be down with that, because that kind of makes sense. It probably is for the better that like Hexagon didn't really work out, because I mean, that's a cool label. That's like awesome that they did that, but I don't know if it would be like the kind of fit I want.
Yeah. If the label's audience doesn't match up with your audience or your target audience, then it's kind of, it's a non-starter.
There was this other label that I was interested in working with. I forget, honestly, like I probably wasn't that important, but like Synesthesia was really cool, because I did that Blood Moon EP with them, and like I have like history with them. I've done a lot, so like I have like this relationship with them. So I probably release with them, every once in a while, not too much because I don't want to like oversaturate my releases. A lot of times I like doing self releases because I have full control, like 100% of the royalties. Oh, then there's Aimed Ahead. They're like one of the biggest like cyberpunk-ish like YouTube channels. They have this whole like network and like ecosystem of like cyberpunk entertainment essentially.
Yeah, that's where this podcast is going.
Oh yeah, so like I definitely work with them because it makes sense, and they have like a bigger following than me. They can do things that I can't do myself, and that's kind of like how I would choose it. Like, does it like make sense with what I'm trying to do, and can they do things for me that I can't do myself? And that's probably honestly like I am not really interested in working with labels that much. Like I'm only probably going to release on Synesthesia, Aimed Ahead, and Fix from time to time, and I guess maybe now like Hypnovision if Rezz is down. And just stick to those guys just because I kind of want to like keep the system tight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. When you go about doing a self-released song, how do you promote your track? Do you have enough followers now that you can just put it out and it kind of gets in the algorithm and does it sing on its own? Or do you run ads? Do you pitch playlists? Like, what's your approach in the modern era?
Okay, there's a few things. I would do this differently depending on like if I had like way more of like disposable income, I'd probably put like a lot into the release. But right now, because Social Kid, like in my like system of projects is like in the category of like hobby, I know like it's for like a hobby, it's like a professional hobby essentially, because I'm only putting in like so much time. I'm not doing it 40 hours a week. And I used to like spend money on like ads, but they're just not working as well for whatever reason. Like the technology needs to evolve because just weird stuff is happening now that it's just not as good.
Yeah, all the Facebook ad, it's the cost to result ratio is like getting worse and worse as more restrictions and stuff roll out.
Yeah, so like someone needs to come up with like a new creative system, and those people that are like really creative that are doing like crazy stuff, like they're killing it right now. I don't know if I'm smart enough to like think of what that solution is, and I'm my own manager, so like I don't have a manager like spending like every day thinking about how to do that. So what I like know a guy that like has like a big repost network. I'll like pay him sometimes to just like get my tracks and reposts, but I don't even do that all the time because on Spotify, I have enough traction where I don't really need to do that. Although when I do that, it massively helps. Mm-hmm. And I used to do that on SoundCloud, but like, man, SoundCloud is kind of, I don't know what, I love SoundCloud because it's like SoundCloud, but it's not really that cool anymore.
No, it's slowly dying.
Back in like 2016, I would post a track and get like 10,000 plays in like a week. Now I'm lucky to get like 1,000 plays in like a month.
Damn.
Like I know some other producers that get like hella plays. I don't know if they're paying for promote. I'm not paying for any promotion anymore. But like I see some producers that have like way less followers than me, but like when they post a track, they get like hella plays and hella comments. I think they're paying for promotion, but I don't know for sure. So my process basically is I'll make my own artwork, which, you know, is not as good as like if I paid a graphic designer. I keep my overhead very low. So I'll make my own art, which is like, you know, you could pay like $200 for good artwork. So that's, you know, I remove $200 from there. I do my own mastering. Let's say that's like another $50, and I don't do any promotion, and like, you know, get like 5,000 plays. I think it's about $100. So I'm saving myself like almost like $500 of overhead to release. And that's just because I just want to do it for fun. I'm not in this for like the money or the career. So I will release, upload it to distro, and then I'll put it on SoundCloud. And then like the only promotion I really do is I'll make like teaser videos, just because it's like the way I do my videos. It's just really fun and it's creative, and I don't know, I just like doing it. Again, like probably not as good as like a professional like video content creator, but that would be like another $100 to get like a teaser video made. And I'll post it on Instagram, and then I'll post it on Twitter, probably get like, I don't know. And then I'll just like let it fly until like the next release. So not that much. If I was like trying to do this full time and like really like be like, you know, like a young producer grinding, what I would probably do is I would, let's say like I'm, you know, social kid living like in that apartment, working 9 to 5, I would set aside like money. I would like stack some money. And if I didn't have the money, I would cancel my Netflix account, cancel my Hulu account, or like whatever it would take to save up some money. So I would buy, probably not Facebook ads because they're not too good, but like to get in some like Spotify playlists. I'd be like, fuck SoundCloud. Like it's not really working that well. I'll just put the promotion money in like Spotify playlists, and then maybe hire someone to do like teaser videos. Maybe not though. I feel like my videos are pretty cool. But if I like randomly had like, the money to like pay someone that's better than me, then I would. But I wouldn't stress about it because my videos are pretty cool. I think they're pretty darn good. They're just not as good as like someone that does it professionally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it's still good enough. And if you're enjoying it and it's like an extension of your creative expression, then I think that's a perfectly viable plan.
Mm-hmm.
So as somebody who has made a full-time career out of music previously with K-Theory, what do you think is a good approach to doing that? Like, what are the revenue streams that an artist should target to try to make a living off of just doing music?
The best would be, and this is probably the trickiest to get into, would be sync licensing.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can have like 10 followers on your SoundCloud and like have a career if you're doing sync licensing. It's like not about like how, like if you want to play a show, like promoters, they're looking for like, can you bring people to our venue to sell tickets and buy drinks at the bar?
Yeah.
And for that, you need to be popular. So I would try to get in sync licensing, which is like really difficult. But if you can manage to get into that world, sync licensing is a really good revenue stream.
Okay.
And then I guess like, COVID restrictions are kind of like over now. So like getting, DJ bookings would be like a good approach too. And for that, you need to be like in a city. You need like, how I talked about earlier, like you kind of have to get your network above like at a certain point. Spotify doesn't pay that much, but
Mm-hmm.
like if you need like a lot of followers, but if you can get to like, let's say like maybe 500,000 monthly listeners, you probably can like make, I don't know, like $2,000 a month, which can pay rent for some people.
Mm-hmm.
And that would means you need to be like releasing a track like once a month to get that Spotify algorithm up, and it needs to be good music.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say like focus on like shows, releasing tracks once a month, and if you can get into sync licensing.
Okay. Back in the day when you're doing K-Theory, what was your income coming from in that era?
At our top point, we were like making like pulling 6 figures a year.
God damn.
Something like that.
Okay. Last question. With Social Kid, what is next? What can people look forward to, or what should they be expecting from you for the rest of the year and into next year? So
I'm going to keep releasing tracks once a month. And I've been playing shows. I'm going to try to like, I don't know if I'm big enough to headline, but I feel like next year I might be. So I'm going to try to like headline some shows, maybe get like on more direct supports with like bigger artists. I'd really want to like, maybe I have this idea of like doing a tour with One True God. I don't know if that'll happen, but like you can expect more releases, like being consistent. So like, new Social Kid track every month. And eventually, I don't know how long this is going to take, but there's going to be a video game coming out with like Social Kid music in it. I think that's really cool. That might be like a year. Video games take a long time, but I'm going to start with like simpler genres before I move on to like crazier stuff. So that's like kind of like a super future thing. But like for now, music every month. And I may be doing some free production workshops. I've done a couple of those in the past. I think that's a lot of fun because usually a lot of people attend those, and we learn a lot, and it's just a lot of fun to like share the knowledge and like push mid-tempo further. I made like a post a while back that I was gonna like explore other genres, and I had been doing that, and I put out some like house tracks recently. I have like this like future bass or almost like cyberwave, or not cyberwave. Oh, that's a cool genre name though.
Yeah.
Hard wave.
Yeah.
Maybe it's cyberwave. But I've just been making a lot of mid tempos, so you can expect more mid tempos going forward. I'm gonna really try to stay on that like one track a month thing. So like new tracks every month until at least the end of the year, going into 2003, and then maybe a headline show in the summer.
All right. Hell yeah. We got a bunch of music, upcoming video game production workshops, and more shows. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. It was a pleasure getting to talk to you. And
thank you. It was a pleasure talking to you too.
Enjoy the rest of your night. Take it easy.
Thank you.